just around the corner, I thought I'd kick things off with the Scarecrow. To begin, you're going to want these two outfits from the Dollar Tree. They're their fashion doll line. As you can see here, I've got an orange and denim jumper. To start, I'm going to flip that jumper upside down and start work on the legs. I want to make a cuff for the bottom of the denim jeans, so I'm just going to flip them in about 1/2 inch so that I can hot glue and add some straw to the bottom. Because obviously, what's a scarecrow without it being stuffed with straw, or at least looking like it is? If you're having trouble getting the denim to fold towards the inside, just use a pencil to push it in. Next, I had this little bale of straw, also from the Dollar Tree. When I finally got it open, it kind of exploded everywhere, so I like to keep it in a zip top bag, just to keep the mess down. Taking my hot glue gun, I'm going to glue those cuffs at the bottom of the leg together. Try and get it kind of circular so it looks like an ankle. While the hot glue is still wet, I take a little bit of that straw and stick it in so that it's poking out. Stick it into the hot glue. This is going to give me that scarecrow ankle look. I do this for both sides. When that's complete, I flip it back over so that the orange satiny part is up at the top. Here I'm taking my hot glue gun and the little makeup spatula from the Dollar Tree just to seal the shoulder seams closed. Then taking some gravel from the Dollar Tree, I'm going to fill the leg part of the scarecrow. This is going to give it some weight and a little bit of stability when we finish it off and stick it onto the hay bale. I just fill it up about to the waistband, and then when that's done, I pick it up, tap it all down, and then begin filling it with pillow stuffing, or, get fiber fill, whatever works for you. I just happen to have an old pillow around that I'm not using anymore. Once the body of the scarecrow is stuffed, take some hot glue and glue the seams closed. I used my hot glue gun for this. Just make sure that when you're doing it, you try to keep your fingers out of the hot glue because, starting a project off, burning your fingers off is never a good way to start any project off, or really anything for that matter. I just glued down the Velcro backing. I made sure to get that little opening closed between the jeans and the shirt. And when that was all done, I started to work on the neck part. You'll see what I did here. Basically, I just squished the stuffing down into the body and then began folding shoulders over and hot gluing it down until it gave me kind of like an inverted triangle. Once I got the body stuffed for the scarecrow, I'm going to get to work on this shiny gold over jacket. Remove the packaging and take out the tag from the inside of the jacket. When that's done, I get a couple of pencils. You can use dowels if that's what you have, or even the end of paintbrushes, and stick them into the sleeves. We're going to paint this, and having the sleeves stuffed in an open arm position is going to help the paint to dry around it nicely so that it's, got the open-armed Scarecrow look. I'm taking some Crimson Waverly chalk paint, and I'm going to begin with a paintbrush. Now, I say begin because I get slightly impatient. So I take a snack bag, put that jacket in there, and pour a little bit of paint inside. Once I get it closed up nice and tight, I just begin to squish the jacket around inside the paint until it has a nice full coverage. I kind of like doing it better this way. I think it's quicker. It's almost like a stress ball. That squishy feeling's kind of nice. And when all is said and done, you're sure that every part of the piece that you're dyeing is definitely saturated with paint. It does take a little while to dry, but by the time I got to this, it was bedtime, so I just let it dry overnight. The next morning when I got up, I took those little white sneakers from the denim and orange jumper, and I painted those black. When I put them onto a skewer, it lets me have full control of what I'm painting, and then I can just stick it into styrofoam and allow it to dry. Next, I'm going to give the front of this jacket a buffalo check look. So, taping off, first I took 1-inch painter's tape and cut it into 1/4-inch strips. Then, starting with the left sleeve, I put a piece of painter's tape down, and then a little spacer piece of tape, and then another strip until the entire jacket is covered with up and down, which is also known as vertical strips of painter's tape. Once I have all my vertical stripes of tape down, I just go through and wrap the tape to the back and press down to make sure that everything is nice and adhered. Then I take a little bit of crimson and ink colored chalk paint, mix them up to get a darker red, and begin to paint over the front of my jacket. Once it's dry, I can go through and remove all the strips of painter's tape that are going vertically. Then I'm going to take my 1/4-inch thick strips of painter's tape, and I'm going to paint the jacket horizontally after I get those strips on. Basically, I'm doing the same thing as I did vertically, just horizontally. So strip of tape, spacer, strip of tape, spacer from top to bottom of the jacket. After pressing everything down, had it nice and adhered, I took a makeup sponge and some Waverly chalk paint in the color ink, and I sponged over the entire front of the jacket. Oh, yeah, you may want to go through and just double check before you start doing that pouncing painting motion, lest you get uneven lines and it looks yucky. When the black paint is nice and dry, I went and made some more crimson and black mix. Then peeling back a little corner of the horizontal tape, I find my original vertical lines and I replace the 1/4-inch strips of painter's tape vertically back over the entirety of the jacket. Taking that piece of sponge that the paint dried into, I just snipped the top off, and I'm going to use this to paint over the front of the jacket where the new tape lines are. You know, save some money where you can, even if it is just $1. When that's all done, I went back while the paint was still wet, and I pulled off all the painter's tape. Excuse me. You'll see that, in my opinion, it turned out to be a really pretty buffalo check. You can do this for the back of the jacket, but we're going to hot glue it to a stake, and this particular scarecrow is going to sit against the wall so no one will see it. So I just left the back red. I think it has a nice contrast, when all is said and done. You'll see here I have one of those Dollar Tree eyeballs they put out every Halloween. I just took some hazelnut chalk paint and painted it to give it a coat of brown. You'll see here it doesn't have to be a full coverage. We are going to cover the eyeball with some burlap. The burlap that I'm using is from one of those Luau banners. I just pulled the banner off of the twine that it comes on, removed that super glittery letter, and let me tell you, when you touch it, everything will be glittery for 2 days. Ask me how I know in the comments. Anyway, once I got that glitter letter off of there, I did my best to remove the little bits of glue that were left behind. It really isn't that big of a deal, though. They're sparse with their glue on these. Then I took that little eyeball, put it in the center of the burlap banner piece, smoothed the burlap down around I'm just going to call it head, smoothed it down around the head, made it sit as flat as I could, giving it a nice shape. And then I grabbed a rubber band and just rubber band around what the neck is going to be. The tighter that you do the rubber band, I think the better it looks. It's easier to hide. Once that rubber band is on, I took a pair of not super sharp scissors because I can't find them right now, and snipped off the bottom portion of the burlap that's hanging off. Then taking some Dollar Tree raffia, you could use a hula skirt too, I guess. I guess it would go very nicely with the Luau banner. I pulled out some pieces and hot glued them to the top of the head. This is going to be the Scarecrow hair. The reason that I'm not using the hay from the little hay bale is, one, it's too short, and two, I like to have some sort of visual difference. Head hair is different than body hair. Yeah, no, that wasn't an awkward statement, to say the least. Anyway, just put a strip of glue down, hot glue, and then put the hair over the glue. Then you're going to see I took several lengths of raffia, folded them in half to make a strip in my hand, put another strip of hot glue down on the back of the head, and smushed those into it. Now it's time for the little face. Taking some more ink-colored Waverly chalk paint, I'm going to use the back of my paintbrush, and I'm going to make 2 little circle dots for the eyes. You may need to dip back into your paint a couple of times until you can get the approximate or, whatever size eyes that you would like. Then using the bristle side of my paintbrush, I'm just going to do a thin crooked line for the mouth. I like to make it go up on the side just a little bit so he's got a little happy smirk. Then back to the back end of the paintbrush, I just dip that into some Crimson Waverly chalk paint and make a little circle for the nose. I apologize, this is out of frame, guys. Next, grabbing the pants that match that jacket, I'm going to make a little hat for Scarecrow. Now, you can use felt or straw or scrap pieces of fabric that you have lying around. Sky's the limit, whatever you like to use. But I want to use up everything that I can for this project. So, taking the pair of pants, I stick the pants on top of the Scarecrow's head and glue it into place. Once I have it seated down on the forehead and around the back of the head the way I like it and have it hot glued into place, I snip the pant legs off and I began to form them using the hot glue into a triangular shape. As you can see here, it's not super hard, it just takes a moment. Next, I grab my pair of scissors and I just give the Scarecrow a little haircut to, even everything up. You can leave it crazy if you like. It's your Scarecrow, you do you. Taking some lavender sprigs I had left over from this spring. They have these little tiny purpley flowers up at the top. Oh, I guess they would be lavender flowers. Ha, ha, ha. Anyway, I take those, cut off about 3 or 4, put a little blob of hot glue on the front of the Scarecrow's hat, and just place them around to look like a little flower and give some visual interest to the hat. You can paint these to make them white or bright or whatever, but I liked the muted purple tone. Next, taking a little bit of the straw from the hay bale from the Dollar Tree, I flip the Scarecrow over, open up the neck opening and put some hot glue into the neck opening and put the straw around so that it looks like the straw is stuffing the Scarecrow's head. Then, taking a little bit more hot glue, I put that over top of the straw, grab that Scarecrow's body and place the head on the shoulders. I think this is looking so cute already, and we haven't even put the buffalo check jacket on her yet. Love it. Speaking of that buffalo check jacket, once you have it all painted and dry, take your hot glue and fill the wrist cuffs of the jacket with hot glue and place a little bit of that straw into the opening. This will be the wrists for our Scarecrow. You want to do this for both sides. Open up that jacket, and now you're going to place the body of the Scarecrow inside. The points from the orange part of the shirt kind of fill out the shoulders nicely. Make sure to pull that straw hair out, and then you're just going to hot glue the front of the jacket closed. Because these are traditional fall colors, if a little bit of that orange peeks through, hey, here you're golden, or orange, as the case may be. Once you have the jacket on, go ahead and hot glue the opening closed. I found this was a little bit tricky because, hot glue is hot, but eventually I got it into place. After the jacket is in place and glued on, I took a bamboo skewer, pointy side facing the feet, or where the feet will be. I ran a hot glue line down the back of the Scarecrow and then about 1.5 inches of the skewer pointy part down the back. That way, when we put her onto the straw bale, she will be able to sit with her legs out. Next, I took some hot glue and I glued the shoes into place on both sides. Taking some jute cord from the Dollar Tree, I pulled out a length and I'm just going to use this as a belt for the Scarecrow. There's not going to be really anything fancy. It's a Scarecrow, country, simplicity. So I just tied a knot. Next, I took that hay bale out of the plastic zip top bag, and I am just going to take that skewer and stab it down into the bale so my pumpkin has a place to sit. Now, you can decorate this however you want on your tray or in your home decor. I happen to find some pumpkin-scented pine cones at the Dollar Tree, but they have these super cute little tiny baby pumpkins in there, and I think they look really cute. So here you see I'm putting 3 of them around the Scarecrow. Eventually, though, I just stacked 3 of them on top of each other, like a topiary. And there you go. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you soon with the next one. Bye.